All right, on to our time of public comment. During public comment, please be aware that any personal or individual student matters are considered confidential under Colorado law, and it is out of respect of the law and our employees and students that we require those discussions take place privately in executive session. It is requested that individual comments be limited to 3 minutes for a total of 15 minutes for a particular topic. The intent of public comment is to give the Board of Education the opportunity to hear your comments. However, the board will make no decision nor take any action on public comment during the meeting. Thank you. Who has our list of... Okay, we will be drawing from the bowl.
Chris Idzik.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I-D-Z-I-K.
I-D-Z-I-K. And your topic is S, what is this? What is your topic, sir?
Social studies standards.
Good evening. Is it on?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, board. Thank you so much, and welcome to the board, sir.
Thank you.
I would actually, if I may, cede my time to Anton Shulsky, who's here to speak. I cannot cede my time.
The speakers are drawn randomly.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening.
Sir, what is your name again?
My name is Anton Shulsky, and I am the social studies teacher in Colorado Springs, and I currently serve as the immediate past president for the National Council for the Social Studies. In its 102nd year, NCSS is the largest professional association in the country devoted solely to social studies education. I'd like to thank the board for allowing me to speak this evening, and a warm welcome to the community. And we've seen a debate over standards in this country over the last few years, heightened and intensified by those who spent little time actually engaging with those standards. The position of NCSS has remained consistent that the standards that are adopted should be grounded in content area scholarship, reflect the best practices in social studies education, be inclusive for all student backgrounds and ability levels. And last month, the Woodland Park School Board adopted the Civic Alliance American Birthright Standards as curriculum guidance for their social studies classes. I'm not here to debate every single aspect of those standards, some of which have been suggested address less than 30% of the recently adopted Colorado academic standards. I am here, however, to talk about two specific issues. NCSS has determined that the suggested standards developed by the Civics Alliance do not align with best practices related to the development of social studies standards. If implemented in schools, these suggested standards would have damaging and lasting effects on the civic knowledge of our students and their capacity to engage in civic reasoning and deliberation. NCSS does not endorse or support the use of those standards. Now, NCSS is also one of the few professional education associations that proudly has a professional code of ethics. Integrity, justice, authenticity, civic engagement, responsibility, and democratic values are the cornerstone of our code of ethics. We state that these principles act as guide rails for social studies professionals who, as curriculum instruction gatekeepers, act within ethical boundaries for themselves, their peers, students, the community, and the democratic society overall. By adopting the Birthright Standards, the school board is mandating that social studies teachers ignore their code of professional ethics. I ask yourselves this: do you ask a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or minister to ignore their code of ethics?
1 minute.
If the answer is of course not, then why are you asking social studies teachers, the professional in the classroom, to do the same? In March of 2022, the 4 professional organizations of teachers of English, math, science, social studies issued a joint statement called Freedom to Teach. Together we said, teachers need our support, they need our trust, they need to have the freedom to exercise their professional judgment. That freedom includes the freedom to decide what materials best suits their students in meeting their needs of the demands of the curriculum, the freedom to discuss disturbing parts of American history, if and when they judge students are ready for it. In short, teachers need the freedom to prepare students to become future members of a democratic society who engage in making responsible and informed contributions in the decisions about our world. Thank you very much.
report for school.
Cheryl Steen.
Oh. I'm Dr. Cheryl Steen. I've been here since 1998. I'm here to present, can you hear me? Pertinent facts and news that is just not getting mentioned by other people who want to speak at these meetings. Some think that the division going on in these meetings is only happening here in Woodland Park, but in fact, it's happening nationwide. I read in 3 different newspapers this month about the 1.4 million student exodus from public schools in 2022. Now that year was countered. That's gotta help. Thank you. Whoa. Love it. Okay. So we had 1.4 million students leave the public schools in 2022. Now this year that was countered by 77,000 enrollment, which leaves 1,323,000 students that left the public schools and have not returned. So one quote in the paper said, "The public school system failed to gain back the confidence of the parents who withdrew children in a mass response to the pandemic era. The lockdowns, the not listening to parents, the mask mandates, all increased dissatisfaction with traditional K-12 education." A survey by Education Next showed that this decline could actually be closer to 2 million. And that declined sharply between 2020 and 2022. It was declining all along and then hit a real bad, sharp decline. People left traditional public schools for other educational options. The other options, of course, are charter schools, private schools, homeschools, micro schools. People are getting very creative about how to educate their children. And it seems these drop-away students are comfortable with their choice and won't be returning to the traditional public schools. And where does that leave us? That leaves school boards dealing with facilities that are underutilized, which can lead to school closures. And I remember clearly 2 years ago, they were talking about closing a whole school because we didn't have enough students. Now, 2 weeks ago, the Gazette published an article that said our school district had figured out how to increase enrollment when everybody else but one other school in this state was declining. So they increased it by 15.83%.
1 minute.
And our district had 290 students increase from 2021 to 22. Our district adapted to the changing educational environment. Our district offered more options to families through more school choice and various programs at every level of learning, using continued partnerships with parents. And I want to express gratitude and encouragement for this school board making hard decisions in spite of the opposition that seemed oblivious to this dilemma. There's been backlash I thought I'd never see. Some people who voted for this school board say they regret their vote. Most of the time it's because they regret all this tension in the school board meetings. It's good to support teachers. I taught here in this school. The goal is education, and it will work best if we pay attention to the students and the parents. So thank you very much. There are a lot of people who really appreciate what you're doing.
Sarah Vogat, supporting traditional public schools.
Sarah?
Good evening. My name is Sarah Vogat, and I live within the Columbine Elementary boundaries. I'm here tonight instead of putting my 2-year-old to bed, instead of snuggling my 3-month-old baby, because I'm a passionate believer in the value of traditional public education, and I want to preserve a strong traditional public school option in Woodland Park for my kids. This board claims that the cornerstone of its governance is parental choice. So I'm standing here as a Woodland Park parent whose kids still have all 12 years of school ahead of them to say that my choice is traditional public school. My choice is traditional public school teachers who aren't just experts in their subjects, but experts in the art of education. My choice is traditional public school infrastructure, the classrooms, school lunches, buses, and buildings that I'm happy to pay for with my tax dollars out of every hard-earned paycheck. My choice is a traditional public school environment where my kids may and hopefully will encounter peers and teachers with different belief systems, family structures, priorities, and backgrounds than they're used to at home. My choice is an unequivocally secular traditional public school education, because even though I grew up in the Christian church and still identify as such, I respect the many kids and families in our community with different backgrounds, recognizing that the appropriate forums for religious instruction are homes and places of worship, not public schools. My choice is a traditional public school curriculum, one developed and approved by experienced educators that provides a strong foundation in math, literacy, technology, and history. A curriculum that exposes my kids to different ideas and ways of thinking, that helps them become problem solvers and good team members, and yes, occasionally makes them a little uncomfortable. I'm a Woodland Park parent and I choose traditional public school. I urge this board to trust our community's teachers and cease interfering with their choices of instructional materials and elective courses. I urge this board to cease siphoning resources away from traditional public schools, including infrastructure and financial resources. I urge this board to adopt standards and curriculum that are developed and approved by experienced educators. I urge this board to hire a permanent superintendent with a robust background as an educator, specifically in the traditional public school system. I urge this board to set an example of compassion, empathy, and respect in its interactions with this community. You claim to value parental choice above anything else. I am a Woodland Park parent, and I choose traditional public school.
Treva Heffling, Support for Tech and Students. Trina, maybe it's
Trina?
Trina Heffling. Hoffling.
Just couldn't read it, sorry.
So I have crappy handwriting.
That's okay. You're
I
a
wouldn't have to follow, huh? I don't have a lot of remarks. I just have something that I want to speak to the way we're talking about teachers in this community, and it concerns me. The teachers are terrified to have normal conversations with their students. I used to be a high school teacher in a different part of the world. One way I paid my school loans was by working for the mental health services. I did dictation for psychiatrists and mental health workers. I knew the backstory of what was happening in my students' homes, and it was terrifying. Teachers need to be a safe place for students to go. If you knew the rural statistics of incest and domestic and child abuse in people's families, I know that's not true for anybody in this room, but it is happening in our community. Our suicide is high. We have suicide awareness campaigns happening right now. Teachers have been trained to handle difficult conversations with students who are afraid to tell the truth to their families. So I'm talking to all of you to stop thinking that teachers are out to indoctrinate your students. They are here to help and to listen and to be a safe space. And what I see happening in this community, I zoom in on this. I've not been to a board meeting to speak up because I have no children in the school district. But what I see happening terrifies me because students are being hung out to dry by well-intentioned parents who don't know better. That's all.
Oriana.
Allie.
I'm going to get emotional because it matters a lot to me. Hello, my name is Allie Oriana, and I am a sophomore at the Woodland Park High School. You know me as a student representative of the DEC, and maybe a student who toured you around the school. What you don't know is how much I love my school. I have been with these students sitting behind me, who I've gone to school with every day for 12 years. We have been through the transition to middle school, high school, and through online school and quarantine. We've been through the good times and the bad. This is my family. and Woodland Park is my home. Everyone in the schools will tell you this, teachers, staff, and students alike. Teachers get up and come to school every day to support us. They have a passion for nurturing and seeing kids grow into young adults. You don't know the amount of passion that they have until you've actually been into their classrooms. They pour their heart and soul into these jobs because for them, it's more than a job. You took one of my teachers away from me, and I know for a fact that you don't know her or what she did for our community, our school, and for me. Calling her for jobs no longer needed. Did you know that when you moved her, you also moved a trusted adult, a mentor, a leader, and someone who deserves everyone's respect? Did you know that she welcomed everyone into her doors when they needed advice, a friend, or just someone to have some good times with? These words don't deserve her justice. Sarah Lee deserves more than what you have gave her. She deserves to be heard like we all do. You tell us you want to listen, and I want to believe that. I so badly want to believe that. And I'm not one that turns my back easily, but over and over again, I'm disappointed. You promised students time with Mr. Witt that was canceled, and then you promised us questions that were not our intention. Once again, we wait on you to come into our classroom to have a dialogue with us, but that has not happened yet. If you want the trust of the community back, then listen to us. Actually, listen to us. I am asking you to spare my family from whatever plans you have for us because they aren't what we need. We need unity, and what you have done has given us the opposite. Though you have been elected to those chairs that you sit in, it does not mean you're above us, or me, or any of us, but we are all leaders here. In my sources class, we sit in a circle so that everyone is equally seen and heard. Your desks are also arranged in a half circle, and we make up the other half. If you want to make decisions for me and represent me, then listen to me. So take down some walls, listen to us, and those on the other side may listen too. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Nate Owen.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Good evening, Superintendent. I'm here on behalf of WPEA, and I'm excited to give you a report and a glimpse into just some of the amazingness of our staff in the school district. Tonight, I'm here to give you a report that focuses on some of the amazing things that our elementary schools have done recently and some of their upcoming events. At Summit Elementary, their staff showed up for a fabulous showcase night last week, focused on making connections. They were even able to feature some of the family-owned businesses in the community. The K-Kids at Summit are raising funds to support Focus on the Forest, and they will be making a presentation next Wednesday to our local Kiwanis Club. The teachers and students are both eager to continue the tradition of adopting classes and exchanging handmade valentines across the building to share their love with each other. And finally, the Destination Imagination team is preparing for the regional competition in Denver next Saturday, February 25th. At Gateway Elementary, they're doing week-long project-based classes right now that are happening for all students. Students get the chance to learn and use different unique experiences to learn about such things like arts and crafts, rocket making, rock climbing, coding, Egyptology, stilt making, hiking, dancing, singing, sewing, spreading kindness through school enhancement projects, sending homemade cards, building ninja courses, studying astronomy, but the list keeps going on and on. These discovery classes are an amazing success with the students, and they are continually raving about their experiences, and they are stoked for each upcoming session. The parent involvement is through the roof this year. Over 70% of their parents are spent the day last December at Gateway for their first ever leadership day, showcasing the leadership of the students. It was an incredible day, full of events such as a sing-along and student presentations throughout the day.
1 minute.
Gateway is truly rocking because when it comes down to it, it is their deepest desire to benefit all students, and that keeps their engines running. At Columbine, we had over 400 people attend Columbine Showcase last week, and parents got to see firsthand all the wonderful things that they're doing at the school every day. This coming Friday, they're having their annual Grandparents and Special Friends Day, which is a way that they can invite special people into their children's lives to share fun classroom bonding activities, such as snacks and a musical performance with the school. Their STEAM and makerspace is now fully operational with a room large enough to store all of their engineering and building materials that they operate over 10 different types of robots Columbine has. Students have been designing and creating their own inventions. They even have a model of a castle that offers a Rescue the Princess challenge that will eventually have robotic alligators in their moat.
Wow.
Each and every one of these schools is important and brings value to the community as a whole. We would love to have our community members, our parents, the board, and the superintendent come visit them so we can show you all the greatness that our elementary teachers and our students are doing in person. So,
You were here that night. You missed all of that.
My daughter was having twins.
You were here. Board meeting scheduled on top of showcase night.
Let's move on.
Oh, that one. Okay. Bridget Curran, student support.
Hi, my name is Bridget Curran and I'm a longtime resident whose kids are the 4th generation of students in Woodland Park. I am deeply saddened by the state of our school district. I'm seeing politics rear its ugly head when the focus should be on the most important stakeholder, the students. I'm seeing an autonomous, authoritarian board make quick decisions without the conversations or support of the community that they were elected to represent. In particular, the interim superintendent was announced the sole candidate on December 7th. On the 14th and 19th of that same month, our primary stakeholders, free-thinking, intelligent, well-educated, critical thinkers were making their voices heard with protests of his candidacy. These students sit on the DAC, are active in student government, they've organized petitions, they're here at board meetings. However, their voices landed on deaf ears. January 1st was the interim superintendent's first day on the job. By the 10th, there was an agenda announcement for a change in the social studies standard, giving the community only 24 hours to research, educate themselves on what was being proposed. The American Birthright Standard. On the 11th, the community pleaded to the board to define what change meant for our students, curriculum, and their future. Again, those pleas fell on deaf ears. The board moved to adopt, regardless of the concerns from the community, unanimously. Outrage sparked during the meeting as the community was upset that once again, they were ignored. The board has continually rushed these adoptions, policy changes, and revisions, which we will witness again tonight. Then there was a special board meeting on the 25th to interview candidates for District A. The questions asked, which sparked outrage again, was another display that this board doesn't represent the students, parents, teachers, or staff.
1 minute.
Look at a 2021 email. To quote the board's VP, the idea is that if you advance on many fronts at the same time, then the enemy cannot fortify, defend, effectively counterattack at any one front. Divide, scatter, conquer. I would ask yourselves, could the questions asked on the 25th by the board VP of hot button topics be used to divide, scatter, conquer? The students see through the board. They are demonstrating that they won't fall for hate-filled fear tactics. These students use logic, not emotion. I'm asking, please don't let this board use polarizing issues to smokescreen their political agendas. Make sure that we are united and Panther strong. Let's work together to ensure that our students will live in a society of acceptance, empathy, open-mindedness, and tolerance like their future depends on it, because it does.
Holly Sample, indoctrination.
Hello, board members. Thank you for allowing us to speak this evening. My name's Holly Sample. I'm a graduate of Woodland Park High School. It's been some time. My mother was a teacher here for 33 years, and I was an educator for 34 years, but not in this district. The two topics I'd like to speak to you about tonight are freedom and rule of law. And those are two things that I heard members of this board speak about, but I'd like to address. Freedom, the freedom that we enjoy in this country, requires an educated and engaged citizenry. It's been 20 years now that I had the opportunity to hear from Thomas Sutherland speak as I lived in Fort Collins. As you probably or may know, Thomas Sutherland was kidnapped by Islamic jihadists in 1985 and held captive until 1981. And when he came to speak to the academic all-stars in Fort Collins, it was near the end of the 1990s, he spoke about his experience in captivity. And one of the things that he said got him through those 6 years was the reading of books. And he managed to convince his captors, who were very young men, to bring him all kinds of books. He was a professor at Beirut University. And they brought him books, but they were fascinated by the books because these young men had no access to books. They had one line of indoctrination that they were told. They had guns and they were told what to think. And they were amazed that this man would have access to so many ideas and be able to
1 minute.
think about those with them. So I'm asking you to realize that withholding books from our students is setting them up for indoctrination, not for good citizenship. The other thing I want to talk about is the rule of law. And under the rule of law, we're not allowed to just choose which laws we decide to follow. And there are two laws I think this board is disregarding. One is the social studies standards that require that our teachers address diversity and that students are taught about a wide range of experiences of the citizens of this state, whether they be citizens who experience racism or different backgrounds or different gender or sexuality. So that's in the law. I didn't bring my phone up or I would quote it to you. And the other one I believe that you are disregarding is the United States Constitution, Amendment 14, which requires due process before depriving someone of life, liberty, or property. And I believe that the story of teacher Sarah Lee fits into that, and she deserves due process. Thank you.
Amy Wolin,
Public comment.
just says public comment.
Hi, my name is Amy Roland. I am a parent and community member and a former employee and a long-time volunteer. I wanted to read to you GP5, which is up for your discretion. And I believe that the board is not following its GP5, which is Governance Process, Board Members Code of Conduct. The board commits itself and its members to ethical, professional, I'll say it again, ethical, professional, and lawful conduct. Accordingly, number 1, board members must represent the interests of the citizens of the entire school district. This accountability to the whole district supersedes any conflicting loyalty to other advocacy or interest groups, or citizens of a director district and membership on other boards or staffs. It also supersedes the personal interest of any board member. Number 2, while board members are able to interact and communicate with staff, board members do not have or may not attempt to exercise individual authority over the district except as explicitly set forth in the board policies. A, members' interaction with the superintendent or with staff must recognize the lack of authority vested in individuals except when explicitly authorized by the board. B, members' interaction with the public, press, or other entities must recognize the same limitation and the ability of any board member to speak for the board except to repeat explicitly stated board decisions.
1 minute.
And C, members will not publicly make or express individual negative judgments about superintendent or staff performance. Any such judgments of superintendent performance will be made only by the board, meeting in executive session as appropriate. I believe the events in December and January the actions of this board violated your own policy. And I think that someone needs to hold you accountable. I am beyond disappointed. My own student, I was accused of being beyond contempt for something I didn't do, which I did not guide or influence my student in any way. My child is an independent thinker, as are many of our Woodland Park students. They are learning these skills as 21st century skills, and it's important for their survival and for their thriving. And I am beyond disappointed in the actions that I have seen this board take on our beloved students and our beloved staff who are doing an amazing job in these times.
We're going to take another one.
One more. Andrew Papadakis.
Hi. I have an analogy that I may stumble on this a little bit. I forgot my spectacles. Tried to make it 3 minutes. I had to cut it down from 9, so as best I can. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please forgive me if trying to be brief. So can we get this out of the way? The Declaration of Independence is absolutely part of our curriculum. No one is teaching the Constitution who has not read it. And while both may be construed as reverent texts, the Constitution and the Bible are not the same thing. The teaching of social studies has never been a partisan issue for me. It doesn't work that way if you're serious about it. What is it then? German writer Hermann Hesse once said, to study history means submitting yourself to chaos, but nevertheless retaining your faith in order and meaning. There's no objective reason why the New Deal and the Reagan Revolution can't be taught within the same context of American rejuvenation. Similarly, there is no objective benefit to leaving out an academic analysis of odious public policies. What do we have to fear from seeing our own shortcomings? Are there not moments in time that we must never forget? What's the point of not forgetting historical events without a constructive application of their meaning? This meaning is both triumph and pain. Our students are allowed their own points of view on issues, contentious or not, and they are encouraged to see others as well. Open minds and the inclination for critical thought is how we proceed into the future with the hopes of embracing our potential and standing proudly in the face of challenges. If it's indoctrination you fear so much, you need look no further than the limitations presented by anti-intellectual censorship and the suppression of the free speech and expression through fear and intimidation. It is ubiquitous in authoritarian governments that deceive with platitudes while usurping freedom. In the home of the brave, we should look for it in our own homes, where antiquated and threadbare cliches and rhetoric may be bandied about as if our posterity has no right to its own self-determination. An open mind and a discerning intellect allow us to embrace the diversity of opinion that ought to be present in the marketplace of free ideas.
1 minute.
I don't fear this, and neither should anyone here. As well, there is nothing wrong with self-awareness. On the contrary, it is a blessing. I have become convinced that there are better ways to encourage student success than the my way or the highway approach that I brought with me when I came here almost 20 years ago. At first, I chafed at the idea that what I knew to be right wasn't in everyone else's best interest. Oh yeah, I could be hard to deal with back in the day. But you see, I was convinced of my righteous path. Eventually, though, the compassion endowed in this place and its people convinced me to take a look at the teacher, the coach, the man, and even the husband and father that I thought I was, and that with the same compassionate approach, I could be better at each. Allowing myself to hear what others had to offer and introspection for the purpose of understanding my own shortcomings allowed me the willingness to act to change them. This did not weaken me. I retain my manly firmness, thank you very much. If curious about that one, see Jefferson's Declaration. This is the kind of growth that we want for our children, fearless and profound. We do this by modeling and teaching it without our own fears projected into it. I owe much of this understanding to Dell, Tina, Kevin, Sarah, and especially Karen. There have been others as well, many of whom are listening right now, some of whom who have moved on. Additionally, I have been blessed to know many students and parents from different belief systems who are walking the same path for themselves and allow me to walk it with them. These were and are the true people of faith to me. This belief in personal betterment has been here all along and is encouraged still by the very people who suffer daily the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, maligned as if they were doing the opposite. I look the truth of this possibility, and I refuse to believe that this nation of ours is so soft that it can't also look in the mirror every so often as we ask our children to. I am of the belief that when a nation as great as our own embraces its whole past and celebrates its wonders while reconciling itself with its mistakes, it becomes great in every sense of the word. My own children excelled here and are successful in college thanks to this district's people and its offerings. My little ones are compassionate, spiritual beings, and they intend to do compassionate works in the service of others. They learn that here, from the people here, such spiritual nourishment has been here all along. I, for one, urge you not to deprive this district's other children of the opportunity to experience that same profound and, yes, patriotic enrichment with an anti-intellectual approach to thinking and to historical study. Change is inevitable.
Mr. Papadakis, how much more time do you need?
10 seconds. This board has demonstrated that compromise, not intransigence, is the mark of a representative democracy in constant search of its better angels. You've shown that you're going to do what you're going to do. Maybe, though, consider mitigating extreme positions lest your own righteous indignation and haughty recriminations of others does more harm than good. I appreciate the extra time very much. Thank you for listening. Peace.